Let's talk about this. Arn Anderson criticized Sheamus a little bit. I'm pretty sure this is something he probably told him personally. This is a transcript. I'm going to read it from No DQ. It's basically, I'm just going to read the part that's kind of important. So he says, "You can overpower guys, that's fine, but there comes a time in every match where you have to get your ass whipped. Your top heels know how to do that. When they get their asses kicked, it's in royal fashion. I don't think Sheamus gets that concept. He wants to get in all his offense, no matter what, whatever it is in his mind that night, no matter what the audience is giving him back or what it calls for. Sometimes you have to be really giving as a heel. Even though you are this rugged, kick-ass heel, you have to give them faith in the babyface. Once the heel overpowers the babyface to the point where the audience loses faith in him, forget it. The match is over." Okay, so I think this is really good advice. You do have to, but basically what he's saying is you have to give space so that the babyface can fire up and build a comeback, and that Sheamus maybe is a little too quick to cut off people, or he snuffs out comebacks. And I think that's a good. I think it's a good critique because I do see him. I can envision it in my head because Sheamus is very aggressive, and that's kind of part of his whole gimmick is that he's like really aggressive and he's like on top of you at all times. But I think this is good advice. But at the same time, you have to, I think you have to look at the kinds of opponents that he's wrestling, or the kinds of opponents that a bigger guy. Let's just normalize from Sheamus to just a bigger opponent. Because Sheamus is going to be bigger than most of the people he's facing. So I mean, in the comment section, somebody mentioned this match with Jeff Hardy, that he kind of like overwhelmed Jeff Hardy, and I will agree, he did. And I still think the match was good, but he did kind of snuff out Jeff a little bit. But I think that part of it is that because Sheamus is an aggressive freight train of a heel. When he was a babyface, he was just as bad. But I think when he's that aggressive, it's kind of he does eat people alive. But this kind of takes me back to when Big Show was talking about being a giant, right? And again, I hate Big Show. We know this, but he was talking to, I think, Steve Austin about being a giant, and that when you're a giant, you don't really have to let people do things. You can now you feed, of course, but you don't have to take and sell and stuff like that unless they kind of lay shit in. And Austin was talking about this, like, when he used to, I think, wrestle, I think it was the Big Boss Man or somebody like that, or it might have been Big Show, and he was trying to get the guy to fire up to fight back, and maybe that's kind of what it is with Sheamus, is that he's beating the shit out of these guys because they don't have the fortitude to fight back. They're waiting for him to call because the heel sometimes calls the match. He's waiting for or the opponent is sometimes waiting for Sheamus to call something for them instead of being aggressive and jumping in. And I think that's where the problem is. Like, that's the problem right there, because Sheamus wrestling like Roman Reigns, he gave Roman Reigns some of the better matches Roman had. Like, of course, Roman had better matches like AJ Styles and stuff like that. But during that part in time when Roman couldn't get over, it was Sheamus that kind of got him over. A lot of people don't pay that much attention to it, but that Philadelphia match, and if I can remember it and it's modern and I remember it, then it means it was pretty good. But that Philadelphia match that they had for the title, I think right after Sheamus had won it from Roman, was pretty good. It was, Roman's a bigger guy though. He can get in there and physically move Sheamus around. Smaller guys, however, like a Daniel Bryan, they would have a little bit more difficult time with Sheamus or Jeff Hardy. They would have a little bit more difficult time getting Sheamus to slow down, or to get themselves a break between what they're doing. And I think that this is still good advice, but it's also kind of strange that it comes off the back of my previous video, which I just uploaded, about big guys, and that I want big guys to look dominant. And I'm not going to go against that. If you're going to let Sheamus eat you alive in the match, fine. That's on you, buddy. Sheamus, do you. But I think that people do need to be more aggressive, and I'm just talking about smaller guys. Smaller guys do need to be more aggressive. Waiting for an opportunity that might not always come, because Bret Hart talked about this as well. Bret talked about being the sort of plain baby face when he was in the tag team, or before. Well, it was either before the Hart Foundation or during the time with the Hart Foundation when he was no, actually he was a plain baby face before the Hart Foundation. He was talking about waiting for heels to call stuff for him, and that he would just basically just get his ass kicked by the bigger guys and the bigger veterans on the roster. So this would have been like the early '80s WWF, and Bret was just getting pounded, thrown around, beaten up, and he was like, sitting back waiting for these guys to call something for me was a pain in the ass. But when he flipped heel, he had to be the one to lead the match, and therefore he was the one that got to smother people and open leave call things for other folks. So I think if you're going to be in that position where you're going to be the submissive guy, or I don't want to use certain language, but if you're going to be the guy that's going to just get beaten up, there's some benefit to that because Sheamus can make it look good. He can make it look like this guy just has nothing left, and he overpowers you. He beats the hell out of you. He can make that look good, but you have to be able to put your foot down and fire back and fight, and because he wants the match to be stiff. It's just typical Sheamus stuff. He just wants the match to be stiff. You have to lay it in. You kind of have to bang. My comeback begins now. And working light, it's not going to work. it's not going to work. You probably have to really lay some shit in. But it could be also that he was told to do that. So I mean, I know it's kind of late in the video to get to that, maybe that excuse, but maybe that is how he was told to work. Because again, like I said, I want to see dominant big dudes. You can obviously see when Brock is opening up space for his opponent. He does it a lot with like Finn Balor or something like that. He'll hit the edge of that table or something, like sell the stomach, like, oh, and then the babyface can begin their comeback. And that it kind of proves Arn's point that yes, the crowd picks up because all of Brock's matches are kind of formatted that way now, where he is just mauling a guy, and then through a low blow or a shot to the stomach, which is Brock's Achilles heel, is his diverticulitis belly, and he allows the babyface to make a comeback. The Finn Balor match is probably the best example of this, as well as the AJ Styles match and the Daniel Bryan matches. He kind of has this way of doing things now, and that does make Brock's matches better, because he is capable of simply destroying you, but he does also format the match where the babyface can get that hope, can get that faith, and so I can see it from both sides, where if you're not going to be aggressive enough to stand in and take Sheamus down, or to hit him and get that light bulb working in his head, then he should just eat you alive, because he's bigger than most of the people on the roster. On the flip side of it would be, he would have better matches, because I think Brock is a better worker than Sheamus, obviously, but I think he would have better matches if he took into account that he has to let the baby faces fire up. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Is Sheamus too overpowering? Is he too much of a destructive big guy, or is this like a petty non-issue? Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll talk to you guys later.